All right, this is RamView on February the 10th, 2022. We're only a few minutes away, a few hours away from the start of Super Bowl 56, and all the talk and all the hype will be over. And there really hasn't been. I'm surprised. The talk and the hype in regards to the Super Bowl this time around, I felt like it's been pretty good in terms of it hasn't gone too far. I mean, if you avoid NFL Network, if you avoid NFL Honors, if you avoid I'm sorry, I know I'm not going to sound really popular here. The self-congratulatory, he's the Alan Page Guy of the Year. He's the Walter Payton Man of the Year. He's the I'm doing something good and I'm letting everybody know Person of the Year, or the league or the corporate's letting you all the good they're doing and all the justice they're bringing. And we're doing flag camps for girls to get into football, and we're doing whole forums on the wickedness of tobacco and everything, and just to tell us how great they are. If you get away from all that, it's been a pretty calm week. And some things have popped up in the news, some things are coming up, and I don't know. I'm kind of excited that we're finally getting closer to the game, and I've got my own fears in regards to the game. There's a couple of things there that are scaring me, and we'll get into that. But yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, I think the Rams are going to win. I'll lock down the final score tomorrow. It'll be here, and it'll be in From the Ram Cave, which you can read every Friday at joetarosian.com. You could read FanView, which is the grandfather of RamView. You could read that every Monday at joetarosian.com. And then 4 days a week so far, hopefully 5, we'll be doing RamViews all throughout the off season, which there really is not an off season with football, because they've done the NFL. The NFL, which is not football, the NFL product is football. You can play football without the NFL. But what they do in terms of, they've turned February into Super Bowl month. And by the time everything calms down, March is going to begin, and we're going to be in free agency, the draft buildup, OTAs. It's just they've monopolized everything. And Major League Baseball, among all others, has not helped itself with its lockout. And so it's an NFL world, and we're kind of all just living in it. And I guess that's okay. With where football has gone, it seems like when people take the analytics into football, it makes the game a little more interesting. As they've brought the analytics into baseball, you got the 3 true outcomes, right? And baseball's kind of become kind of slow. And even though this is a football podcast, vlogcast, whatever we want to call this thing, yeah, I think the COVID year opened the window to some possibilities for baseball. But problem is, baseball is so linked to the past and its numbers and 3,000 hits, 300 wins, even still, that, yeah, I think a 60-game season would be perfect for baseball, maybe 80 games. I think in some ways, maybe 7 innings. I want to see the starters out there. I don't want to see somebody get credit for starting 5, getting $5 bazillion to pitch 5 innings or 4 innings and have it called a quality start. But baseball better make some changes, because I think what baseball was will never be again, because the analytics community has come in and I don't want to say monetized it, but statitized it, and so everything is so finely detailed. But baseball doesn't lend itself to that, because in terms of where baseball, you can't just decide I'm going to go knock someone's head off, right? In football, you can decide that. And if you're Fred Warner on the 49ers, you can get away with it without being fined. But in football, you could have somebody with a lot of talent. But if you're of similar size and build, they might have a lot of talent, but you might have a stronger will. And we've seen that. And we could see that this week, where one team's got more talent, but another team has a stronger drive. And but in baseball, if you don't have it, you don't have it. And none of the cheering, none of the waves, none of the on the organ is going to cause that ball to drop into a hole for a Texas leaguer to give your team the win. Where football is still a game of the individual in terms of individual effort as part of a team. And baseball, the individual can shine, Mike Trout, Jacob deGrom, but that doesn't mean anything, just because you can't will something necessarily in baseball. That's my theory anyway. So anyway, let me get back to predictions. I believe the Rams are going to win. I'll lock down a score tomorrow. If this game had been played last week or just this past weekend, no fears, right? You go bang, 49ers, Bengals, Rams play, it's over, no fears. But when you have 2 weeks, now all of a sudden that Joe Burrow effect starts coming in and messing with your head, right? The Joe Burrow effect is if I just go bang, bang, I'm not worried about it. But now that I got several hours and several days and weeks to think about it, it's like looking into his eyes. Don't look into Joe Burrow's eyes. It's like being pulled into a vortex with the rest of the media. And I can understand why the media is being pulled in. You start with the acknowledgement that Burrow is very good. And then you start with 3 playoff wins, overcame all the crisis and drama in his backfield, 9 sacks against Tennessee, and the dude just keeps getting up and dealing. He's overcome Cincy. I mean, Cincinnati, that's where good football players go to die. And yet he's overcome that in his second year. And, of course, coming back in Arrowhead. So when you look at the tea leaves of this Super Bowl, everything is in place to me for a repeat of Super Bowl III. You got the underdog with an average record going against a favored star-heavy team like the Jets did versus the Colts. And that underdog team has a quarterback named Joe. You could lose it if you keep looking into Joe Burrow's eyes. He'll convince you that the Bengals really are going to win this game. And I'm a firm believer they got a shot. I really believe they got a shot, but they have to be the Rams are going to have to help them. And so stay rational, stay on planet Earth. When everyone's saying this is going to happen, it could happen, but I think it's the idea of we're looking into Joe Burrow's eyes and he's sucking us in and we're coming under his trance of his charisma, and you got to be real careful. Back to the Rams, and I've been wanting to say this for 2 weeks about the Rams in terms of the Rams are hungry too. The Rams want to win this game too. It's not just all about the charisma of Joe Burrow. It's about legacy for the Rams. And I've been wanting to say this for 2 weeks. When the deal was made for Matt Stafford a year ago, the baseline, and no one's going to say this now, everyone's saying it was Super Bowl or bust. And I'm sorry, that's just not true. What people were talking about a year ago was the baseline is minimum NFC title game, because no one was going to fault the Rams if they came up short against Tom Brady and the Bucs, who eventually became world champs. And no one was going to fault them if they lost to Zen Rodgers and the Packers at Lambeau. You get Stafford and you get to that game. Everyone understood it. No one was going to have a problem with that. That was you lose to those two guys, it's okay. But when the baseline became the Super Bowl, it happened when they had to play the 49ers in that title game. If they had lost that game, the tremors would have rocked the organization well into the 2022 season and into the foreseeable future, and legacy would have been jacked with. The memory would always be back how the Rams blew it, and I don't think you shake something like that. That's the kind of stuff that lingers. That's the kind of stuff that leaves a hangover, and so it was huge. So that the baseline went from make it to the NFC Finals to going to the Super Bowl, and now it's about winning the Super Bowl because you're playing against the Bengals, and that makes it a nowhere else because the Bengals, are a real Cinderella story. Both teams are 4th seeds. Who cares? But it's going to be a huge upset if the Bengals win. And Joe Burrow scares me. Against Frisco, the Rams' job was to stop the run. They, great points were made by some analysts that said, don't race up the field. They stayed in their lanes and made it difficult for the 49ers to run the ball and left it up to Jimmy G to beat you. Because Jimmy at some point was going to G, right? And Jimmy did G, and the Rams played it right and they won. But now they're going against Joe B, and Joe B is going to be, he's going to be Joe Burrow, and they can't give him time. They have to get after him. They have to get up the field, which means, as elementary as it may sound, the Rams are poor at this, or only 12th best in the league, is they tackle poorly. We know this, and they're going to have to tighten that up, because I don't think you can just play against the run and worry about stopping Ricky Mixon on Sunday. You need to stop him always. You always need to stop the run, but you can't make Joe Burrow beat you, because Joe Burrow will beat you. I truly believe that. going over this as I prepared, one of the things I like better about writing FanView, Ram Cave, and a couple of books, you can look at that online, that whatever this format is called, is I prefer the writing because when I nail something writing, I could take a screenshot and use it as proof that I made the call. When you're just doing it with your voice, it's a little harder, and no one's gonna, take out a clip and play it here. But at the beginning of the week, I remember saying, I said the Rams should give Eric Weddle the green dot and diminish Troy Reeder's role, give more snaps to both Ernest Jones and Travin Howard. It's not anything I really haven't been saying for the last few weeks, but I thought it was amazing just the other day. Rams Wire reported that's what the team is going to do. Eric Weddle will be wearing the green dot. He will be calling the plays, and with that gives the Rams the latitude to pull Reeder off the field, that he won't be playing 90% of the snaps. I think there were 51 snaps on offense the 49ers had in the NFC Finals, and Reeder played 49 of them because he has the green dot. He was calling in the signals coming in from Raheem on the sideline. And now that it's going to Weddle, it makes me believe that you might see more Ernest Jones and more Travin Howard, which is good because, one, those guys are going to have to tackle. But when you look at what the Bengals are capable of offensively, you're going to need those cover backers, those cover linebackers to help out during the game. So that doesn't make me a genius. It's just you have to be aware. Sometimes, and this was kind of my rant yesterday a little bit about the horns up community, sometimes we have to go beyond what we're being fed in the top of the queue, what's the hot social media thing. And sometimes we can't always go with what we see in the link, but sometimes we just have to go out there and look and see, and your judgment's good. You don't need to be a coach or a doctor to figure those things out. You just have to be aware and have eyes. There's a really good book out there called Take Your Eye Off the Ball. And it teaches you how to watch a football game where you're not just watching the ball. We're so conditioned to watch the ball, but maybe in a rewatch of a football game, watch everything that's happening that you can in the secondary, and you'll see, or in other places on the field. Question came to me about what I'm going to do when the football season ends, and it really plays into the Super Bowl here in terms of that. Is that the football season never ends. March is loaded with free agency and draft. So my plan is to be here, if not Monday through Friday, Tuesday through Friday, talking football, just in these short bursts. But here's the thing: people talk about the draft, and yeah, I used to love the draft. Then I stopped watching it for a few years because I got really sick of the red carpet treatment. It's not the Academy Awards, folks. It's the NFL draft, and I just got sick of all that pomp. And I got sick of all the stories. He's playing for his grandma who has one leg, or his grandparents died, or there's a sick brother. Hey, everybody has a story, and it wears me out to have to hear everybody's story. I just want to know if they could play football. I just want to know if they could play with the team. Everybody has a backstory. There isn't one person who doesn't have a backstory of some tragedy and some loss. And it's the effort to always gin up our emotions. You know what? Let my emotions gin up on their own. Don't invade my space and try to gin up my emotions, right? And so I kind of really lost interest in draft night. I'll watch it, but what's intrigued me, and it's intrigued me more as the Rams have just dealt all their first round picks, far more intriguing is 2 through 7. And seeing who's going to be taken in the second round and the third round. On the second day is the second and third round, and on the third day is the 4th through 7th rounds. And those things are just fascinating when you see who these teams have picked up. The legendary joke is Tom Brady's the 199th pick in the draft. I think Jordan Fuller was the 199th pick in the draft when the Rams took him a year ago. And of course he's out. But there's about 4 players on the Bengals and Rams who are going to possibly contribute significantly beyond just running down the field on special teams in this game. The right tackle starting for the Bengals is Isaiah Prince. He was a 202nd pick overall. Nick Scott, who's lights out right now for the Rams at safety, was drafted 243. The Rams have gotten clicks pretty much the whole second half of the season out of Ben Skoranek. He was drafted 251. Travin Howard, who we've been honking for most of the year, and we really want to see get more snaps, who got the critical interception that ended the game in the NFC title game against the 49ers. He was drafted 231. all 3 days of the draft matters. And all those players, Isaiah Prince for the Bengals, Nick Scott, Ben Skoranek, Traven Howard, they'll all be contributing something on Super Bowl Sunday. I'll go back to this one more time before I move on to the Super Bowl window and the new drama that we have to deal with. I keep seeing, and I'll take correction on this, I keep seeing the Bengals have a great run defense, but I don't see that. When I look at Pro Football Focus, I see their run defense ranked 23rd overall. You can run. They got some good DTs, but you can with BJ Hill and Reader. You can run on the Bengals, and I'm really hoping that that's what McVay does. If he's going to run against the Bucks and he's going to run against the 49ers, two staunch teams that are great at stopping the run, then he needs to run against the Bengals. I think the ultimate game plan is Stafford throwing 25 times, not because I don't want him to throw 25 times or 35 times or 40 times, but I believe the Rams could really control this game if they just pound the ball. Just pound, keep Burrow off the field and just wear them down, and then let Stafford do it with his strikes to his receiving core. That's we'll talk more about that manana. As we're coming up to the 17-minute mark here. I've been saying we're in the Super Bowl window. TMZ is going to release some stories, and surprisingly, so far, so good. No DUIs, no new recorded messages of coaches or people in high places declaring some racist rants or speaking ill of women or speaking bad about Eskimos. It's so far so good, but it is the Super Bowl window, and so everyone's trying to fit things into that window. And first and foremost was the Brian Flores thing, which I think a lot of us kind of think, hey, Brian Flores has kind of a case here. But when he came out, or his lawyers came out, were bagging on Lovie Smith, another African-American coach who got the job in Houston, that's not a good look. Linking his case to Colin Kaepernick failed, all right? He failed. He lost his job to Blaine Gabbert. He walked out on his contract in Frisco. He's made millions of dollars. He's not a martyr. And to link his story, which feels fraudulent, to Flores, who has some legitimate beefs here, it's just a bad look. And he needs to give the death stare to some of his lawyers like he would give to a player who blew coverage, So that was one thing that's popping up in the Super Bowl window. The other thing that's popping up is there's several media links out there calling for the NFL to move Super Bowl 57. Can you believe that? Because we're in the Super Bowl window. They're pressuring the NFL to remove Super Bowl 57 from Arizona because of a litany of new voter ID laws and COVID responses and such. And there's all kinds of stuff we can get into on that. And I'm happy to get into that, especially when the faith leaders have statements to make. And I can tell you about those faith leaders, but we're just here to talk about football. But whatever the case is, we know the NFL, like all corporate entities, is very prostitutional, very whorish. They're going to give ear to anything and anybody because they're got to protect the buck or make sure they make their buck. And they may or may not go Manfred on this and move the MLB, like the Major League Baseball moved their All-Star game to Colorado out of Atlanta because of voter laws in Georgia. They may or may not. But if they keep the game in Arizona, they'll likely have forum upon forum and social justice presentations. And, of course, a couple of things about don't smoke, and everything. But it's just something that I thought was interesting that popped up in this window, and it goes back to an argument I've made before is that, and it sounds kind of counterintuitive based on what I'm doing, is I've said the NFL needs to die in its current form. We love football. We love its product of football because the NFL has no competition right now. And there's so much money in the NFL that it really feels like it is too big to fail. I can't see football dying, the NFL dying. And that's a shame because the thing is that they'll never take a pause because they have no competition. They have nothing to consider what somebody else might be doing or saying or fill a void that they leave. So they can take any measure they want. They can do anything they want on the field, off the field, and they won't really suffer because their consumer, by and large, has no place else to go. Even though the NFL doesn't own football, they kind of own the product the NFL produces, right? Which is great football. But they can do whatever they want. And if there was some competition out there that say, yeah, take your game out of Arizona, we'll go into Arizona. Take your game out of Georgia, we'll go into Georgia. You don't want these players, we'll take this player, but there's just no competition like that. And really, honestly, unless it's a Bezos or a Smith at Apple or somebody like that, there's really not going to be any competition for the NFL. And so, yeah, there is a possibility that they would do something like pull the Super Bowl out of Arizona. You know, that's just who they are. And careful about what you give too much of yourself to emotionally. I mean, you could watch them from a distance and appreciate them and stuff, but that's who they are, and that's the world they're creating, and such. And I just thought it was interesting that it pops up in the Super Bowl window. Right, there wasn't the DUI, there wasn't the racist rant caught on tape. So, oh great, let's move Super Bowl 57 from Arizona. Right, so let's do all that. Looking forward as we hit the 21-minute mark, looking forward to tomorrow. Want to say thank you to everybody for clicking on and just, man, I got 7 subscribers. I never even expected any because I didn't do any pre-push for this. I'm tagging some people. I'm not even going to tag this show today. Just trying to do some analytics testing here. But if you do like the show, please hit like, subscribe, do those things. And it is something that we really enjoy doing. And I think a lot of people are starting to like it. Yes. My man. It is a stone groove. It is a show that some people are appreciating. And if you feel like you can sign on, please sign on, and we'll go from there. But you could read this. You could read me at FanView on joetarosian.com. And every Monday from the Ram Cave is every Friday. And then RamView, we're trying to do it Monday through Friday. We are Tuesday through Friday on either joetarosian.com, or you can see it here on this YouTube channel. We thank you for your comments and your likes. Paul, Steve, all you guys, appreciate it. And looking forward to talking tomorrow and talking more Rams football. And keep your eye on the game. And whatever you do, don't look into Joe Burrow's eyes.